Welcome everyone to Show Me Online Teaching, where our goal is to provide practical ideas for online teaching and learning. In each episode, we feature a guest teacher sharing a favorite lesson, and then in writing project style, we work with these activities and work to adapt them across grade levels and subject areas. Today is gonna be awesome because we have with us Casey Daugherty, and she is really gonna help start us thinking about ending our school year with students after this COVID-19 interruption and moving our classes online. So I'm gonna mute myself and encourage Casey to introduce herself to you and share with us what she brought.
Thank you, Katie. Yes, my name is Casey Daugherty, and I am a literacy specialist in Republic Schools. And I also serve with Missouri Writing Project Network as a professional development facilitator. I would invite any of you to come to any of those sessions around the state. And specifically, I serve with another person on this call, Linda Brock. Maybe she can wave. But her and I have been facilitating some of the ELA content area meetings for DESC in the last couple of years. So I would invite you guys to look into those and come to those in the coming year. We also have some other people on the call. Jeff Deerking, he's going to help out today. And Julie Sherman is also helping out today. Behind the scenes. And so I'm gonna just move right into our lesson and see what you can take away from it. I would invite you to have a notebook handy, and let me get this started for you, sorry. Have a notebook handy and write down some of the things that you're noticing, and I'm gonna invite you to be a writer and a participant in this. And then also use the chat feature. So many of you who have been on this call before or have experienced some online learning have found some value in that chat feature. So I would encourage you to use that as well. So thanks, Katie, for the invitation. And I have been talking with my teachers in my district about some of our parting thoughts. Like, what are the things that we know we want to do this year with this interruption and this disruption that we have had? And it's very difficult, you know, because we're balancing the students that we are in contact with that have fully engaged with us, and then we're trying to balance bringing in those students or finding ways to connect with the students that we haven't had that engagement opportunity with. So I want to go through just a little bit of a thinking process with a team that I was working with recently and what our plan is. And we're actually going to start this particular lesson next week. And the end result is that the teacher wants to read For Everyone by Jason Reynolds. And once we started realizing, like, well, what is For Everyone? It really is a letter and a credo, kind of a manifesto for us to impart to others. It's for dreamers, really, is what Jason Reynolds says. And so we decided that our best angle might be to try to write a credo for our students as they part. And to do that in this planning session, we like to use laps. And by that, I mean we use smaller text structures and shorter quick writes to get us to a longer piece. So we know that our end result is that we want to read this text and we want to write a finished parting credo. What is the last thing, students, that you want to say to the world or to your classmates or to yourself? And so we're just exploring the credo through that. So to start this lap process today, we're going to look really quickly at slogans and memes and business credos. We then are going to take a deeper lap into a script writing from an old movie, Bull Durham. You guys might know that movie. It's really old, 1988. But there's a beautiful I believe statement inside of that. And then we're going to dive a little deeper into poetry. So we are going to read a poem from Rita Dove, a former poet, a U.S. poet laureate. So we're going to get into a little bit more difficult and challenging text, perhaps. And then we're going to read a children's book today, The Undefeated by Kwame Alexander. And so I'm going to ask that as we go through all of these texts, that you look for credos. You look for manifestos within inside of those. So a credo, just to start us off, is a statement of the beliefs or aims which guide someone's actions. So if I can, for 30 seconds, off the top of your head, this is going to be a private writing. If you feel inclined to put it in the chat, you can, but this is just private. What guides your actions? Take 30 seconds just to jot a brainstorm list. So about another 10 seconds. And I would invite you to kind of look over that list. Take 10 seconds, 15 seconds to look over that list. Star a couple of the things that perhaps you could move forward on. If I ask you to write a little bit longer on one of them, which one would you choose? So just star it or annotate your own list in some way. And then hang on to that piece. We're going to come back to that eventually. So as we continue through this, you might want to continue your notes. Just below that is just fine. So first I'm going to ask you to look at these business slogans. What is the story behind, what's the bigger picture? What is the story behind what some of these slogans and or / business credos are? And I would invite you just to put that into the chat. What are these things? What are you thinking about with regards to credos? What does each one mean? So I see some things popping up, like, keep working, some advice to give to others, infinity, I like that. Be unique and be creative. So these short texts are still giving us some powerful belief systems, breaking away from the norm, treat yourself, I love that. Winning, and even politeness. I see Jan mentioned politeness. So starting here with this very small app of asking students to look at a small slogan and see, well, what's the credo? What's the meaning behind this? Kathy adds, to be powerful. Cami adds, the game goes on even after we are gone. So I love your lines of thinking here, because that is where we're headed with credos. So as we move through the mentor text that we're getting ready to read, I want you to jot down answers to one or both of these questions. So think about lines that you love and beliefs that you share. Which words or phrases connect with or inspire you? And then also, up to this point this school year, we have been working on literary devices. We've been looking at them in all sorts of text, and we've been mimicking and emulating writer's craft. So read these as a writer, and what structure or what language devices could you emulate? So as we move forward, think about those two questions, and I will keep those questions in front of you so you don't have to write them down. Our first reading is from Bull Durham. It's a movie script. I'm going to invite you to write it silently, and your first piece of writing in your notebook, and this is going to be private again, private writing. Your first piece I'm going to ask you to do is, which lines do you love? Which beliefs do you share? Write down any words or phrases that you connect with or that inspire you. So I'll give you about a minute of silent reading and writing time, actually about a minute and a half. So just think about some of the things that Crash Davis, the main characters whose belief statement we're looking at, is there anything in there that it connects with you or reminds you of your own actions and some of the beliefs that you possibly believe in? Take a few seconds to write those down. About 10 more seconds. And now I'm going to invite you to be a listener. And I'm going to invite Linda and Jeff to unmute. And let's just listen to this script. And as a listener now, shift your focus a little bit to structure. What do you notice? What's the writer's craft that you notice about this piece? Language devices or literary elements? Write down things you might like to mimic as a writer. And I'm inviting Linda, be your best Susan Sarandon. And Jeff, you get to be this fantastic Kevin Costner. So let's listen to a read aloud now of the same piece.
Where are you going?
After 12 years in the minors, I don't try out. Besides, I don't believe in quantum physics when it comes to matters of the heart.
What do you believe in then?
Well, I believe in the soul, the small woman's back, the hanging curveball, high fiber, good scotch. But the novels of Susan Sontag are self-indulgent, overrated crap. I believe Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. I believe there ought to be a constitutional amendment outlawing AstroTurf and the designated hitter. I believe in the sweet spot. I believe in opening your presents Christmas morning rather than Christmas Eve. And I believe in long, slow, deep, soft, wet kisses that last 3 days. Good night.
Oh my.
I think you guys are winning the Oscars for those. So thank you so much. In the chat box, let's just have a little brainstorming session of what are some of the literary elements or literary devices that you notice in this script writing here. So if anyone has some thoughts on that, throw those into the chat. And Linda, would you mind sharing anything that comes up?
So already we have repetition and parallel structure, which is probably the big standout for sure.
Absolutely.
I also see lots of fragments. Katie mentions juxtaposition, also a standout.
Yeah, the fragments and then what you do believe in and what you don't believe in, this juxtaposition of those items.
Cami talks about train of thought, and that's definitely emphasized with the short fragments. And
Absolutely.
emphasis on nouns also is what I was thinking, quite a number of nouns. Julie mentions blend of concrete and abstract.
Oh, yes, I love that. Anyone notice anything about, well, we've got a couple of ellipsis points there. And I do love, I think somebody mentioned the fragments. So yeah, thank you for brainstorming on these literary devices. Let's practice this again, but let's go into a deeper piece of text. So this time we're going to read Rita Dove's Demeter's Prayer to Hades. So again, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. Read silently, and then do you have any lines that you really love or beliefs that you share? Add those to your personal notes. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do this. So let's take about 30 seconds to write. What words stand out to you? What phrases do you connect with? Could you add any of these to your list of belief statements or your list of guiding actions? Or maybe you want to impart something on others. So take just a few seconds to close down whatever thought you're working on right now. You're adding to your list. And I'm going to invite you again to read a second time. Again, reading a piece of text more than once is always beneficial to our students. So I'm going to ask you to read again this second time, but now I'm switching that to writer's craft. So what are the things that you noticed craft-wise? And Linda, if you wouldn't mind, would you unmute yourself and read this aloud for us?
Sure. This alone is what I wish for you, knowledge, to understand each desire has an edge, to know we are responsible for the lives we change. No faith comes without cost. No one believes without dying. Now for the first time, I see clearly the trail you planted, what ground opened to waste, though you dreamed a wealth of flowers. There are no curses, only mirrors held up to the souls of gods and mortals. And so I give up this fate too. Believe in yourself. Go ahead, see where it gets you.
So in the chat, I would invite you to write down literary devices or language structures. Think syntax, think word choice, think mechanics. What are the things that stand out in this particular piece? And also I would invite you, I haven't written this question down, but I would invite you to write or share what is your growing definition of a credo. So if you can put some of those things in the chat, and let's brainstorm some of those things that we see. And Jeff or Linda or Julie, I don't know if one of you could read out some of the things that are in the chat.
All right. So there's some funny capitalization, which I think is, I noticed that too. The final lines. And then use of sophisticated punctuation. So it is written as a set of complete, well, yeah. So they're written like they're complete sentences. They're complex sentences. They're declarative sentences. There's a sentence variety. There's a sense of a call to action. It's interesting that it's punctuated like complete sentences, but then again, they're actually, at least second and third sentences are technically fragments. To understand each desire has an edge, to know we are responsible for the lives we change. Those aren't, yeah, so, yeah.
That's great. Thank you for sharing some of those. And as our definition expands, Kathy noted, I see that she noted it was a call to action. So perhaps for some of you, the definition of a credo might be expanding. So we started off with just a short slogan. We then moved to kind of some I believe statements. And now we're looking at maybe a call to action. So I'm going to ask you and invite you to move through another text and again, answer these questions, lines that you enjoy, lines that you believe, and devices that you see are being utilized, perhaps. I want you to think about your growing definition of a credo and what that looks like and reads like. And then this particular piece is a children's book. And so I'm asking you, what is the this all about in a stanza or two? So at the last minute, I added a different video, which is Kwame Alexander reading this particular text, which is his text, The Undefeated. This is just won the Caldecott Award, and it's a Coretta Scott King Award-winning book as well. It came out in April of 2019, so it has won 3 awards in 2020. So I'm going to invite you to sit back and enjoy Kwame Alexander for a couple of minutes. Oh, reading this text. Sorry, let's see if we do it like this. Oh no. Okay, there we go.
Would you mind giving us a little flavour of the book by reading from it?
I get to read it?
You do? Would you like him to read
You
it?
don't want to hear it?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to stand up. Let's see. This is The Undefeated. Oh, we have it up here. Yes. Hello out there. Glad you all could join us. If you have the book, you can follow along in your text, or you can see it on the screen. This is for the unforgettable, the swift and sweet ones who hurdled history and opened a world of possible. The ones who survived America by any means necessary, and the ones who didn't. This is for the undeniable, the ones who scored with chains on one hand and faith in the other. This is for the unflappable, the sophisticated ones who box adversity and tackle vision. Who shine their light for the world to see and don't stop till the break of dawn. This is for the unafraid, the audacious ones who carried the red, white, and weary blues on the battlefield to save an imperfect union. The righteous marching ones who sang, "We shall not be moved because Black lives matter." This is for the unspeakable. This is for the unspeakable. This is for the unspeakable. This is for the unlimited, unstoppable ones, the dreamers and the doers who swim across the big sea of our imagination and show us the majestic shores of the promised land. The Wilma Rudolphs, the Muhammad Alis, the Althea Gibsons, the Jesse Owenses, the Jordans and the LeBrons, the Serenas and the Cheryls, the Reese Whitleys and the undiscovered. This is for the unbelievable, the we real cool ones. This is for the unbending, the black as the night is beautiful ones. This is for the underdogs and the uncertain, the unspoken but no longer untitled. This is for the undefeated. This is for the undefeated. This is for you and you and you, Jamie, and you, Imogen. This is for you. This is for us.
I hope that you, I love that book. So I hope you found it as powerful as I did. And I'm going to ask you again, what is this all about? So take a few minutes to write here. Think about your growing definition of the word credo and what it looks like and what it reads like. And I have put the text here. So if you'd like to just look at that while you are taking a few minutes to write, I'll leave that up on the screen for you. So you can write this either privately in your notebook right now, or you can add some things to our chat if you prefer, either one. And I'll give you about a minute here. So of course, it's not much time, but what could you add to our chat? What do you notice about the structure of this piece? Or what beautiful lines would you emulate? Or what is your growing definition of credo? What are the structures and the syntax and the word choices, things like that? Add something to our chat so we can have just a short, brief discussion. And I would ask Linda or Jeff to share out some of those.
Sure, I can get started here and then I'll hand off to you, Jeff, after a while. Melanie says, I feel like this is the history and legacy of those who have gone on before. Katie mentions hurdled history survived America's, I think, powerful parts. Melanie also adds, connecting the idea that a credo encourages action or inspires perseverance. Ooh, good one. I love that. Jan adds different aspects of communication woven in, like speeches and music and song. Kathy adds to encourage, to allow belief, to name, and to bring power. Those are all good. Julie scored with chains in one hand. Jan looks like she's in the middle of something. She's got actual faces and then a comma. I love that. Julie, unafraid, audacious, so cool. And there's Jan's added positive and negative experiences.
Oh, these are so great, Linda. Thank you for sharing some of that. And I want to bring that back, what Jan said about these positive and negative experiences, and maybe one leads to the other. And we noticed that where, I would ask my students, where did we notice that earlier in one of our mentor texts? In that script from I Believe, there was the same juxtaposition of some of the, the idea was there of what I believe, what I don't believe. And here, this is for, this isn't for. So thank you for sharing your ideas. And a credo, remember, is just a statement of beliefs or aims which guide someone's action. I would invite you to return to the top of your notes, to read silently, and then begin to write when you are ready. And perhaps you're just listing, or maybe you're just circling, highlighting, or even annotating your own notes right now. This would be our next step in our classroom. And then the next thing perhaps is I would invite students to say, okay, what is your writing plan? Our goal is to write a finished credo, a belief statement that shapes actions. So how will you craft your credo? Today we have seen an I believe statement. We have seen a this is what I wish for you statement from Rita Dove. And then we have seen this is for from Kwame Alexander, a lesson for others. Perhaps you want to jot down your thoughts, but know that our next move is we're going to read the book for everyone, and we're going to tie in everything we've done today and end the year with this particular novel as well. So that is the close of our session, of my session today. And what I would ask you to do right now is, did you write a really great line, or do you have a writing plan? Would you share that in the chat? Or perhaps what are your thoughts or ideas on this lesson? And I would invite Linda or Jeff to share out some of the things you're noticing. Oh, I see Jeff's. I'm on a separate device. I see Jeff's now hearing this as these efforts, as these things that we do add to the world and make it better. I love that. Katie wrote about a belief in being a role model for my kids. She was struck by Rita Dove's line, "We are responsible for the lives we change." I would love to read that in a longer piece from a student as well. Like, that's amazing. Melanie adds, "I love all the writing that allows me to list and contrast." Missouri Strong, that builds on tradition, hoping the sweet spot where all is good and right with the world, where all are responsible for the lives we change and go ahead without fear. Some are unspeakable, but we are Missouri Strong. Cami, that's what a powerful line, what a beautiful line. Thank you. I would thank you all for participating today. I hope you found it useful. I would like to hear maybe from Katie or Linda or Jeff some alternatives if you want to do that. And I know our time is up.
The only thing that I'll add, just because we're short on time, is that this idea of doing the laps, starting very small, growing a little bit, adding on, and then I love that you're connecting it to a whole text, you know, somewhere at the end. I think that is how students really learn. I mean, I felt like when we started, this was a complicated thing, but the way you did it, not so complicated. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely, Casey. And since we are nearing the end here, I think I'm glad, Linda, to have you point that out. I think it's useful across all grade levels and content areas to really think about taking these laps with students, small, incremental, as well as to be able to sort of use a variety of texts to guide students. So we are often using at least one mentor text, but I think you showed us about 7 mentor texts as you took us through that work. So certainly improves engagement and gives all of the learners in our classrooms something that they can hold on to in the activity when we're not just relying on one text as our mentor. So thank you so much. I would love to hear from teachers as you work toward the end of your school year online with students. This would be a great ending activity. So if anybody does that, please reach out to us in the writing project. We'd love to see some of the results. Thank you, Casey. Thanks everyone for being here. We'll see you next week. Next week is actually going to be our last one for a while, and then we're going to hit pause for several weeks. So join us next week. We'll be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, again, focused on online activities that you can be using as you think about closing the semester out with your students. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye-bye.